What's up, guys? It's Andrew. This is the Grow Real Estate Podcast, and I've got a special episode for you today. I just got back from an event at my church, and our senior pastor, Troy Maxwell, was really bringing the fire. So I came home and just felt like I wanted to share some of this with you guys. So today's episode is called A Beautiful Mind, and I just want to dive into this one. Did you know that our mind determines the quality of our relationship with God? What does that mean exactly? Well, quite simply, if you aren't in the right state of mind, you can't expect to be right with God. Here's the deal. We connect with God in the Spirit, or the Holy Spirit, more specifically. However, our minds, that 3 pounds of gray matter inside of our skulls, operates in the flesh. So if we want to develop a deep and meaningful relationship with God in the Spirit, we have to get our minds right in the flesh. Does that make sense? So what are some practical things we can do to improve our thought life so we can clear the way for God to move in our spirit life? Well, someone with a strong mindset will first replace self-pity with gratitude. Self-pity can be a destructive and negative emotion that holds us back from living our best lives. On the other hand, gratitude is a positive emotion that can bring happiness and contentment. Here are some steps you can take to replace self-pity with gratitude. First, recognize your self-pity. Acknowledge when you're feeling sorry for yourself and recognize how it's affecting you. Then, reframe your negative thoughts. Challenge those thoughts and try to see things from a more positive perspective. For example, instead of thinking, why me, think, I'm grateful for the challenges I've faced because they've made me stronger. The next thing you can do to improve your mindset is to hold on to your power by learning and practicing forgiveness. You have to learn to let things and especially people in your lives go. Now, this has been an area of my life I've struggled with a lot. It's a destructive cycle for me because at some point in my life, as I became more aware of the importance of forgiveness and realized I wasn't practicing it, I beat myself up over it. I believe this is really just a byproduct of not letting things or people go in my life. However, at its core, by carrying all of that anger and resentment around with us, we're giving up all the power our minds, and for that matter, our physical bodies have, and we deplete ourselves of the energy we need to function in all areas: physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. Unforgiveness is the posture of a victim, and all victims dwell in the past, which I'll address in another point here soon. While forgiveness can be difficult, it's important to remember that it's a process and it may take some time. It doesn't mean that we forget what happened or that we condone unacceptable behavior. Rather, forgiveness is about letting go of a negative emotions and moving forward in a positive way. The next thing you can do to strengthen your mindset, and this one is so important, is to understand that you can only control what you can control. On the flip side, you can't control what you can't control. But how often do we find ourselves trying to control a situation, or even crazier yet, control someone else? Maybe our spouse. Guys, if there's only one thing you take from all of this, make it this one thing. The only thing we have control of in the world is ourselves. We control our actions, and perhaps more importantly, we control our reactions to the things that happened around us and other people for that matter. Don't get distracted by things you can't control. If you do, you'll find yourself feeling very out of control. If everyone would stop trying to fix everyone else and focus instead on improving themselves, just think about the impact that would have on the world. The next thing you can do to improve your thought life is to understand you can't please everybody. Now, for a people pleaser like myself, this one is especially tough. Especially those leaders out there, you have to become comfortable sitting in the absence of agreement. There is a 0% chance that as a leader, you're going to please everyone. And trust me when I tell you, if you try, the whole ship will sink. If what you're doing is right, then move forward confidently and anticipate there will be someone who stands in disagreement with you. It's okay. As Winston Churchill once said, "You have enemies? Good. That means you stood for something sometime in your life." The next thing you can do to strengthen your mindset is to take risks. Taking risks is an important part of personal and professional growth. It's important that you identify your goals before taking risks and having a clear understanding of what your goals are so that you can help evaluate whether the risk is worth taking. Weigh the pros and cons, right? Maybe consider the absolute best outcome and the absolute worst outcome. If the result favors one end of the spectrum over the other, maybe base your decision to take action on that. It's about the ratio of risk and reward. Most importantly, learn from failure. Failure is an inevitable part of taking risks, but it can also be a valuable learning opportunity. Instead of fearing failure, try to approach it with a growth mindset and see it as a chance to learn and improve. Another important step in developing a strong mindset is to celebrate others' success and don't let envy find its way into your heart. I heard someone tell a story once about a group of real estate agents who were having a after-work social hour at a hotel in Austin, Texas one time. Now, Michael Dell from Dell Computers, who lives in Austin, was walking through the hotel, and because he was a bit of a local celebrity, everyone stopped to take notice. As he walked out the front doors of the lobby, a Mercedes Maybach limousine was waiting for him. As the driver closed the door behind him, one of the real estate agents in the group said, "Oh, he's too good to close his own door." The team leader of the office stopped her in her tracks and asked, "Why do you begrudge that man his nickel?" The agent wasn't quite sure how to respond, so the team leader asked her, "How much would you pay to have a private driver take you anywhere you wanted to go at any time?" The agent still didn't know how to respond, so he asked her then, "Would you pay a nickel?" To which she said, "Of course I would. Who wouldn't pay a nickel for a private driver?" she asked. The team leader finished, "Michael Dell is a billionaire. That's billion with a B. You see, the amount of money it costs him to have someone drive him around relative to the amount of money he's earned in his life is likely the equivalent to a nickel for you and I. So don't begrudge anyone their nickel." I love that story as it's an important lesson on how we need to remember that living a life of comparison, especially in real estate, will only leave us discouraged and unfulfilled in the long run. Lastly, and I touched on this in an earlier point about acting like a victim, a person with a strong mindset doesn't dwell on or in the past. I like to say, coulda, woulda, shoulda, what's the point? When we focus too much on the past, we may miss out on opportunities for growth and change in the present. We can get stuck in old patterns of behavior and may struggle to move forward. This leads to negative emotions like regret, guilt, and sadness. These emotions can be overwhelming and may interfere with our ability to enjoy life in the present. Most importantly of all, it will interfere with our ability to develop a deeper relationship with God. We need to learn to lay it all at His feet, everyone and everything in the world. When we give it up to Jesus Christ, we can open ourselves up for a direct relationship through the Holy Spirit with God Himself and just watch how He'll move in our lives. Guys, if anything resonates with you, I'd love to connect. You can book a call with me at the link in the show notes. In the meantime, I'm praying blessings over your family and I'm praying blessings over your business.